let us try to do demo on Dockers. So hands-on Dockers, if you had installed Dockers already, so please try to open the command prompt, okay, and then let me start with the very basics of Dockers. So I am going to now show you, once the Docker engine is running in the background, you can start with working with Dockers. So the first thing is a very, very simple thing of how do you actually start the first hello world container. Okay, so you can actually start with something like Docker run, okay, then hello world, right? So try understanding this, that when a Docker is run, okay, if that particular Docker is not available in your cache, it will show that it is unable to find the image locally. Okay, once it shows that it is unable to find the image locally, what effectively happens is it is going to pull, okay, pull it from the library, which is the latest library from the Docker Hub. And once the pull is complete, okay, once the pull is complete, you will get that thing downloaded. That Docker will get downloaded. Okay, so now here you see that you have run a container. It's a Docker container of hello world. Okay, and it shows a message that hello world or hello from Docker, right? So what does it mean? It is pulling the container layer by layer. Okay, we will see in some of the other container as to how that layer by layer pulling happens, but for the time being, just understand that you pull it layer by layer. Okay, and then from that primary image what you have, okay, it displays the output. The container stops its execution, okay, it ceases to run after the output is displayed, that is hello from the Docker. Now what containers are running on system, how do I come to know? There is a command docker ps. Okay, so for the time being, when you run it on your system, you would not see anything because none of your Docker containers are running. But for my system, some Postgres thing is running, because I would be showing that to you as to how do you interface a Docker to a database, right? For that reason, I have kept it running, okay, only with that intention. So in your case, you will not get anything, okay, you will not get anything, but there is another command which will tell us as to how many images, right, are there in my cache locally. Okay, before that, there is another command which you can do and see as to how many containers, right, have run and stopped or are running, okay, with the command docker ps -a. So you will see that in this hello world command, hello world container ran 3 minutes ago, okay, and it stopped. So this is what you will get by using the command docker ps -a. It tells all the containers which are running, which have run, which exist in your cache, right? So then what are the images, okay, which are cached locally? How are you going to know? You can type docker images, which will tell as to what is a Docker image which is there in my cache, right? So hello world is the Docker image. There is another Docker image which is Postgres. There is another Docker image which is Postgres 12, right? So this gives us the information about three things. One is what is the tag associated with it? What is the image ID? Image ID is created actually. And then when was this Docker created and what is the size of the Docker? This is the information which you get from Docker images, right? Now, once you are able to do this, let us try to understand when we get all these Dockers, right? We have just downloaded them. Now we will try to run a Docker, okay? So the Docker is actually run from a Docker hub, okay? And then let us try to understand and see how do we start them, stop them, okay? And then try to understand, okay, some of the things. So let us try to pull in a Docker pull, okay? Let us say Ubuntu 18.04, let us try to pull, okay? So we are pulling Docker, which is Ubuntu 18.04, right? Yeah, so if you see this, it is downloading, okay, the Ubuntu 18.04. It has pulled everything completely, okay? And then let us say you want to work with Ubuntu 19.04 or 20.04 or whatever. So let us pull Ubuntu 19.04, okay? In sorry, Docker pull Ubuntu 19.04, right? So in your case, if that would not be there in your library, it will show you, okay, something like this. These are layers. If you see here, this is one layer getting pulled, this is another layer getting pulled, right? So you get now two images, two Dockers for Ubuntu itself. So let us try to understand, okay, and see whether those images are there or not. If you see here, now see, you have Ubuntu 18.04, which was created 5 days ago, which has got 63.2 MBs as its size. And then you have a Ubuntu 19.04, which was created 2 years ago, and it is 70 MB. Now, see, one of the things is from the security aspect. If you want to see which is the latest one, whether somebody has tampered with that Docker, okay, or you feel that it is not correct from the size aspect, right? Those are all which could be related to this, right? Now, for that reason, if you want to see something like you suspect, there is something which is called as Docker inspect. And for Docker inspect, what are you going to do? You are going to actually take, okay, the image ID, okay, of whichever container you would like to inspect, right? So I did this. You will come to know that this particular Docker image, okay, has got this checksum, right? From which repository it was downloaded, what is the repo tag, when was it created, right? When was it created, okay? And then which was the host name, domain name, so on and so forth. There are so many things which you can come to know from this, right? We're not going into the details of each one of this, right? But the idea is to make you familiarize, right, with what all you can do with Dockers, right? So once you inspect that, that is fine. Now it will contain a lot of things. Similarly, let us try to actually inspect Docker, inspect, let us say 1904. So here you will come to know that when was it created, was it a new creation, okay, because of the date and time, okay, which is shown. So see here, it was created in the year 2020, whereas 18.04, right, I suppose was created very recently, right? It is 2nd of February 2022, right? So this basically means that you can get a lot of details about these Dockers, right, from this inspect command. So now let us try to understand and run the command. So we will try to run the command. In the sense, we will try to run the Docker now, okay, using the run command. That's what I meant. So you run the Docker using the run command. So Docker run -d, let us say Ubuntu 18.04. It has run, right? So but this tells the Docker to run the command in the daemon mode, in the background, right? Because I have used -d. So it's a daemon background command, right? If you basically omit this flag, like before omitting, let us try to understand and see and check the status of the Docker. So if you see here, Ubuntu 18.04, okay, the bash shell is running, right? Uh, let me just enlarge it and show you. Okay, so yeah, so this particular thing is actually trying to show you, returns the container ID. Actually, once you run it, okay, it's going to return the container ID for you, okay, and some Dockers won't return anything to you, okay. So now I showed you this psa command. So now the idea is, when we are trying to run the Docker, okay, we need to start using it, right? It is not that it just runs in the background. How do I use it? So for that, you have to make Docker run in the interactive mode -i -t, because I'm trying to work with a terminal, a pseudo terminal handle, and then the name is, let us say, Ubuntu 1, okay, and then into colon 18.04, right? Now if you see, okay, so here we can see a new instance of Ubuntu 18.04, which is termed as Ubuntu 1, which is created 10 seconds ago, and it is running, right? So now we know that it's running, and now I have to, let us say, work on it, right? So I need to run the command inside the container, okay, using the docker exec command, right? So we need to run docker exec, okay, and then I need to do it in the interactive mode. I want to run it on Ubuntu 1 instance with, what do I want to run? I want to run the shell, right? The bash shell now. So my Ubuntu container is there, it is actually running Ubuntu, which is up by 8 seconds, but I want to work on the shell now. So what I do, I run this, I get into Ubuntu as root. So now let me just check and show you this. So if you see this, this is my Ubuntu 8.04. Okay, so it is now running. Okay, so now we will get the root prompt here. Okay, so I suppose people would have got it. Now how do I use something, right? I have now created a Docker, it is running. I have now come to the shell. Now I want to, let us say, do something and maybe use it, right? So let me just do some small thing like echo hello, okay, from Ubuntu 1, okay, and now I save it in text file, right? So let first, so I save it in a text file, right? Now we can actually exit. That means my work is done. I have saved something in the hello world text file. That text file tells that it is hello from Ubuntu 1. So I exit this container, right? So once I exit this container, what thing I will get, right? I have exited the container, right? So now let us try to maybe create another container called Ubuntu 2 and then try to see something on, otherwise the time is there. Okay, so let me just go to the next thing and let us try to see, I will test time. So if you see this Docker PS now, right, I have done some operation, I have exited out of this, but it is up since 3 minutes, right? So what I'm going to do is I will just show you, okay, instead of Docker execute again, to access a shell inside for our container, use it to display the output of the hello world text file. Okay, we can directly use a cat command on it, and I'll show you that how do we do it. You do docker exec -it ubuntu 1 at hello world .txt. Do this, my text file I had saved hello from Ubuntu 1, so this saves it, right? And I am able to get it. So this is how actually you are going to use your Docker containers, okay? And then you can start your Docker, stop your Docker anytime you like, okay? So now let me just show you another thing as to how do you use it. You can prune it. I was just trying to think that if I can give an example, okay, of trying to attach some what to say, command to a Docker container which is running something, right? So that is something which is called as Docker attach. Okay, so Docker attach I would not execute now. I actually have done it, but I'll just show you some other things wherein you can connect it with a SQL. So for that reason, I'm just trying to tell you that Docker attach command attaches any primary process inside the container, that is our bash file, right, /bin/bash shell, okay, to the container instance, right? So that could also be done. So now let us try to do something like uh, access to, okay, Postgres SQL container, and let us try to do something wherein, okay, we can actually try to see how we can do things. So let me just show you. docker ps. So we have this Postgres 12 which we have kept. Okay, now I will try to directly run that command which is there, which I have done. So I have pulled the Postgres. Okay, now in that there is a user by name Panoramic, and then that password is trekking. So I will run this. Okay, so I have a Postgres SQL installed which I showed you, and that particular thing actually has got a table, right? And we will try to see. So now this is running, right? If it is running healthy, we will try to see docker ps. It is running. Okay, the other one was also running. So once we logged in, okay, using that we can actually see, okay, the docker thing. So I will run the docker exec. I already have it, so maybe I'll show you that. Yeah, so yes, so now if this is running, so oh, why is it, sorry, yes. So one of the mistakes which I did is I have to actually change the docker value here. Yeah, so I will have to change this. Container ID with this container ID, right? And then run this. I should type the password. I have come to this PSSQL prompt, and if I tell, these are the list of databases which is there in my Postgres SQL, right? So I just try to show you two things. Now let me just go to the basics of NGC as to how do you download, right, effective Dockers from the NGC cloud. So all of you can actually visit this site, okay, whenever you can visit. So what you're going to do is I will have to show you the very starting thing which is there in the PPT because I have logged in. So you will actually get, okay, this sign in page. Okay, these NGC dockers are very optimized to run on the NVIDIA GPUs which are connected to your laptop, your workstation, or your cluster, right? Any cluster which has NVIDIA GPUs, these dockers are optimized, right? So once you sign up and log in, you will come across this type of a catalog which has got a lot of containers, right? TensorFlow containers, PyTorch containers, so many of them, right? If you see this, so I will show you in detail, right? If you explore the collections, you have containers, right? A lot of containers, okay? TensorRT, so many of them, right? There are plenty of them, okay? All optimized to run. So now, once you are able to do this, okay? Once you're able to do this, you can pull a TensorFlow Docker, okay? And we have pulled it. It goes like this. You have got a TensorFlow thing, and then you can run a Jupyter notebook. So I just thought like one or two slides on Jupyter notebook, not much on it. So you will get a Jupyter notebook like this, which you can run on it, and then we will show you how do we do it, right? Because now the idea is there is a Docker container which is running on my DGX, wherein it gives me a link to a Jupyter notebook, but that is not having a GUI. Okay, it actually has to be forwarded, right? That information has to be forwarded to my client system from where I'm working on, because I need to access the Jupyter notebook, right? So that particular step we will show you. But once you are able to register, okay, one of the things which you should do is from the command prompt, okay, from the command prompt, before you access these containers, there is a step which I will show you. The setup, if you go, yeah, so there are two things, right? This is a cloud. In the cloud there are a lot of containers available. So to access the container which is there in this NGC cloud, there is this API key which you need to generate, okay? And from this Docker hub, Docker prompt, from where you are trying to access your Docker, okay, or you are going to download the Dockers, you need to actually do this Docker login nvcr.io, okay? So you are going to do this. Your username is the same for all of us, so it is $o authenticate stuff, paste it, then it will ask for the password, and this password will be your API key, right? So you will have to save it somewhere, or you can regenerate the password whenever you want. So what I do is I paste it, and then I get this message that login succeeded. So once this login gets succeeded, you can access any Docker container from this collection. But if you are not logged in, okay, you cannot download the containers. So here, doing this, we have downloaded the PyTorch container, a TensorFlow container, right? We have downloaded a lot of them, but today we are going to show you the TensorFlow container, right? So let me just show you that using our DGX system. So I'm accessing that through TeamViewer. Give me a sec. Yes, so what is the ID? 0378267. Net password is 1mi543t4 log on. Okay, so 1 minute, let me increase the size of it. Yeah, 1 minute. So still the size is okay. So 1 minute, let me just increase the size of it. I suppose there is some issue. Yeah, I suppose, is it visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, so yeah, so now we will show you. Yeah, Docker images. There's so many Docker images in the repository, and we have downloaded from nvcr.io, right? These are Docker images. Some of the Docker images we have actually renamed them, so whatever, okay? But the idea is that these are the Docker images. So now we have downloaded a TensorFlow Docker. We are just trying to show you using TensorFlow and Jupyter Notebook, how can you run some workload on the DGX or on the cluster, right? Using remote access, using client server type of a methodology, right? Yes. Yes. So now these are all the Dockers which are there. Those are images. These are Dockers which we are trying to run. So these, when were they created? What is the status, right, of all the Dockers on our DGX system? Yeah. So now we are going to actually show you so now this demo has started. So let us try to inspect the Jupyter demo. Yes. So this has got a lot of information. We have got the IP address, okay, IP address, the gateway, and all of that, which would be useful for us. We will run this now. Typing of the password. What happened? Yes. Okay. So this is the workspace of our container. Yes. So this is how we try to run our Jupyter notebook in that container. One of the things which we should remember here is this particular port number, right, which we are trying to change, is because the port's number or the port would be in use, right? So we will have to change the port number as you do experimentation, as you try working on this, you will come to know, right, that this is one thing which will be of use to you, that you need to go on changing the port numbers because the earlier port number would have been used, so it cannot be connected, right? So this is one thing which you should keep in mind. Yes. So we'll run this. Yeah. So now we have run this, and now we have a Jupyter notebook running, right, on the server, on the DGX server, but we cannot view it, right, because we will have to open it in Jupyter notebook. So what we do is we try to open it using the IP address of our local system. We try to do it. This is called as port forwarding, and we are trying to do a port forwarding from localhost to the IP address of the DGX along with the username and this thing, okay? And then we would now see it on the Jupyter notebook of our local host. Mhm. Yes. So this is the Jupyter notebook, which in which is actually running on the DGX, and we are having it available for us to use on our client, right? And then there is this program which we can run. Once you run it here, it actually runs it on the DGX. So I just thought like we will show you a demo of a small uh, this thing, right? Wherein we have the training images, we have validation images, and then it's a very, very simple image classification type of a very small program just to show you that using this type of a methodology, using a Jupyter notebook, right? You can actually train your model on the DGX or on the cluster, okay? And then I'm not going into the details of the program that you will see when you go into your further classes, but I just wanted to show you how you can use Docker for running, okay, any of these machine learning, deep learning programs, okay. So we are trying to use TensorFlow with Keras preprocessing, so we get the GPU model also, right? And then we try to do the validation for so many epochs, and then so on and so forth, right? So it will take some time for training, but the effective idea is to what other came. Okay, this was because we missed one of the steps, I suppose. If you run it from the beginning, we'll get it. But the effective idea is that this is how you can use it, right? So I suppose, yes, we can try once again from the very beginning. Because of the amount of time, I thought like just run it. Okay, so let me just try to run it once again. Start and clear the output, and most probably will get it. Give me a sec. I thought I'll cover everything fast, so but I will have to do it step by step. Yes, actually I should have run it in all one go so that it would have been done step by step, but then we will have to wait for some time. That's why I thought like yeah. So yes, so I think that you can run it like this, and then we will get some results. So morning thing. Okay, so I suppose yes. So this is how if you run, okay, you will be able to get the output on your machine learning models. Yeah. So I suppose I'm done. So yes.